ERUPTS, Filipino teen sounds exactly like Elvis. Judges in total shock. Miguel Santiago stood behind the massive red curtains of the AGT stage, his hands trembling as he clutched his grandfather's old guitar. It's wood-worn, its strings slightly rusted, but its meaning priceless. At just 16, Miguel carried a voice that didn't feel like his own. It felt older, deeper, soaked with history. People in his small barangay often said, "When Miguel sings, you hear someone else living inside him." But to Miguel, it wasn't someone else at all. It was his Lolo Ramon, the man who taught him everything about music before cancer silenced him forever. Tonight, Miguel wasn't just auditioning. He was fulfilling a promise he whispered at his grandfather's hospital bedside. "Lolo, one day I'll sing on the biggest stage in the world. For you." The stage manager nodded. "You're up." Miguel took one shaky step forward. As the light blinded him and the crowd roared, he felt the weight of every sacrifice his mother had made, working double shifts, saving coins in a jar labeled Miguel's dream, and telling him every night, "Anak, your gift is bigger than our struggles." Standing in the center of the massive stage, he glanced at the judges, Simon, Heidi, Sophia, and Howie, each waiting, curious, unaware of the miracle about to unfold. "Hello," Simon said. "What's your name?" Miguel Santiago." "From the Philippines," he answered. "What will you be doing for us today?" Miguel swallowed hard. "I'll be singing an Elvis song." A soft laugh rippled through the audience. Elvis was big shoes to fill. But Miguel didn't mind. He had been filling them since he was 8 years old. The music started, soft, distant, almost like a memory, and then Miguel opened his mouth. The first note was warm, golden, and impossibly nostalgic, a sound so familiar that jaws dropped instantly. It wasn't just Elvis's tone, it was his soul. The audience froze like a photograph. Heidi's eyes widened. Sophia pressed a hand to her chest. Even Simon, who had heard thousands of singers, leaned forward as if pulled by an invisible force. Miguel wasn't just performing, he was reliving. Every chord carried his Lolo's lessons. Sing not to impress, sing to heal. He let the lyrics drift through the auditorium like a gentle storm, powerful yet comforting. Halfway through the song, something unexpected happened. A man in the front row, an older American gentleman with white hair, leaning heavily on a cane, covered his mouth and began to cry. Not soft tears, but deep, uncontrollable sobs. His daughter wrapped an arm around him, whispering something, but he shook his head, overwhelmed. When the camera zoomed in, the audience gasped. Pinned to the man's collar was a small Elvis Presley fan club badge, the metal worn smooth from decades of touch. Miguel noticed too. For a moment he faltered. Why was the man crying? Was he hurting? Doubting himself, Miguel nearly pulled away from the microphone. But then he remembered his Lolo's words, "Music finds the soul that needs it most." So Miguel sang louder, stronger, braver. As he reached the final note, a note filled with love, grief, gratitude, and the voice of a boy carrying generations on his shoulders, the entire theater rose to its feet. The applause was explosive. The judges were stunned into silence. But Miguel didn't look at them. Instead, he walked slowly to the edge of the stage and gazed at the older man who was still crying. The man stood shakily and whispered, loud enough for only a few to hear, "You sound just like him. My wife and I danced to Elvis every night before she passed. I haven't heard him in years. Until now. Thank you, son. You gave her back to me for 3 minutes." Miguel felt tears blur his vision. Without thinking, he stepped down, knelt by the man, and hugged him. The audience erupted again, this time not for the performance, but for the humanity. Cameras flashed, people cried, and even Simon blinked rapidly, swallowing. Emotion, Miguel whispered. I sang for my grandfather tonight. I'm glad it reached your heart too. When he returned to center stage, Simon stood up, something he rarely did before speaking. Miguel, he said, voice rougher than usual. I have judged this show for many years, but what you did today wasn't just singing, it was a gift, a reminder of love, memory, connection. And for that, his hand slammed the golden buzzer. A rain of gold filled the air. Miguel covered his face, crying as the glitter stuck to his hair and guitar. His mother rushed from backstage and embraced him, whispering prayers of thanks. The older man in the front row clapped with trembling hands, smiling for the first time in years. As Miguel stood beneath the sparkling storm, he didn't think of fame or victory. He thought of his Lolo, of nights spent practicing by flashlight, of songs hummed under mango trees, of dreams born in humble places but destined for the world. The moment wasn't just his triumph, it was proof that kindness, music, and love could bridge distances between generations, between strangers, between hearts. And as the golden buzzer lights shimmered around him, Miguel realized something beautiful. Sometimes the greatest performances aren't about being the best, they're about touching a soul that thought it could no longer feel. And that night, on the grandest stage of all, a Filipino teen reminded millions that humanity still sings, loud, brave, and full of heart.